Welcome to Emancipated Studio. Welcome my uncle, Uncle Stu, the old man on the block.
Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. I just want y'all to know, let me give a big shout out to the hardest working YouTuber on these YouTube streets before the billions. Let me just tell y'all, if y'all don't know before the billions by now, I don't know what you've been doing on these YouTube streets. Lord knows this young man has been working a regular job, turning around doing 10, 15, 24, 40-hour live streams back to back. I don't know. Then he'll be on his live stream, sleep, and still keep going. So I got to admit, he is the hardest working YouTuber on these streets. So I just got to say, I got to give it up before the billions, because now he is monetized. And last time I looked, this man was only a few more subscribers away from hitting 2K. He's on his way to 2K. So if you ain't subscribed to this brother by now, y'all hit that subscribe button. That's free. That's free. So shout out to him for all the hard work that he does definitely do. To my brother Wally is in the house. We all know the one and only Brown Eyes is in the house. And Jeff Yu is in the house. Salute to you. Ladies and gentlemen, I just gotta let you know that this young woman is also the second hardest working woman that we got on these YouTube streets. First, she got to be a good wife. Then she got to be the good mother. Then her and High Value Nurse got to be the good nurses in the midst of all this work. And then she got to be the voice on her own show. When you get into her Instagram, then she turns around and she hears the dawn call, so she got to pray 5 times a day. Then turn around, and when it's time for her to be on CKT podcast, she's there too. So I got to admit, she is the hardest working Muslim on these YouTube streets. Crimson Ties ain't got nothing on her, because Crimson got a crew. She is the crew. So ladies and gentlemen, give a loud shout out to the one and only, my sister's keeper. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on?
Nothing much. You making me blush with that introduction.
Look, it is what it is on these YouTube streets, and you are who you are.
Thank you.
You know, and a lot of times we don't give flowers where flowers is due. We don't give honor where honor is due. And we really don't understand people, because a lot of times we get on these YouTube streets, we just see people and we just assume things about people.
Yeah.
And never really getting to know people, who they are, what they go through on a daily basis. And, you know, as they go through the things in life, then we start hurling epithets at them and foolishness at them and thinking one thing about them, and they're the total opposite of what you would even think. Now, everybody don't know. You are a comedian. You're a comedian. She is funny, y'all. She is funny. So I'm going to tell her, give the answer. Give the answer Come on, we gotta get my chat laughing in here. You know, you ready? Come on, give him the answer. You had me in stitches. You had me in stitches. Ready? T- t- tell everybody where you from. Where you from? Come on, give them the answer. Give them that answer. They don't know you. Give them the answer.
From my mama's coochie.
Let me tell you why I wanted you to say that. Because let's be honest. Everybody see Muslims. You know, me being a former Muslim. They always see Muslims as serious and always deep in thought. A lot of us is that's why I read the way I read, because being a Muslim, if you're not well read, they don't even want to talk to you. And so they see Muslims, but to hear one laugh, to know one that has a joke, one that's not so, I'm serious and Allahu Akbar, and,
Oh Lord.
So it's awesome. It is awesome.
I try to be approachable, since so many Muslims are so serious and still face. I like to just laugh and be soft and approachable, because I mean, many people have questions and stereotypes that they want answers to, but they haven't found a Muslim that they feel comfortable enough to talk to. So I try to make myself presentable and, accessible to people, to make sure they can ask whatever question they want to ask.
That's cool. Let's because on our last conversation, which a lot of people don't know, you was just part of the panel, but on our last conversation, you're a converted Muslim. You didn't necessarily grow up as a Muslim.
Yeah.
So what attracted you? Yeah. So what attracted you to, go from, what was you prior to being a Muslim? What was you?
Christian.
Christian? Okay. Mm-hmm. And what allowed you to convert from Christianity to Islam? What can you kind of talk about that conversion, or what led up to that conversion?
Well, I was 16. My mother had recently converted a few months prior. So I had all this new material around my house, and I'm an avid reader. I love to read. I didn't really hang out in my neighborhood. I spent most of my time reading books.
Okay.
So naturally, having these books around my house, I was curious to see what my mother was learning. Mm-hmm. And what I like the most about Islam is directness.
Right.
I'm a straight to the point type of person. And so I like that this religion is that way also. Right. You can't just tell me something. If you tell me something, you better be able to show me where you got it from to back it up. So they encourage questions and seeking knowledge and knowing for yourself, and not just accepting somebody else's word. And I think the best part that I loved about it was my direct access to God. I didn't have to pray to anyone. I pray from myself directly to Allah.
Right.
So my relationship with God is strictly the one that I create.
I like that. I would say, I equally understand exactly where you're coming from. Ironically, I converted at 16 as well. Wasn't from my parents though. I really was influenced by, a social worker in my school. I love the discipline. I love the discipline. I love the fact that when I went to the masjid, it was nothing but men. And then it was the world of men. It wasn't just black men. It was all around the world. Yeah. And so for me, I was humbled. I can say I prayed arm in arm with, the late Muhammad Ali. I prayed arm in arm with, Kareem Abdul-Shabazz. So there was so many people. And then, of course, being in New York, I got to sit at the feet of both Betty Shabazz, in the sense of knowing Dr. Betty Shabazz. And, so I got to know the wife of Malcolm X, and I got to know people that knew Malcolm. And, I was at the masjid that Malcolm spoke at. So it was an awesome history and living life. So I definitely understand that. Um, and you being a Muslim, was you a Muslim during 9/11?
Yep, that was my senior year of high school. I had been Muslim a year by that time.
Are you Sunni, Shiite, or did you come through the Nation of Islam?
I'm Sunni.
Hmm. Okay. And um, is your organization still under Imam Waruddin Muhammad?
The Nation of Islam?
No. Sunni Islam. Imam Waruddin Muhammad, at least 10, 15 years ago, was over a sect of Sunni Islam here in America. That's the son of the late Elijah Muhammad.
Okay. No. Um,
Okay.
Sunni Islam. The Islam that I study, I don't go to one particular mosque.
Okay.
I frequent many. I do have a favorite mosque.
Okay.
That's in Atlanta, the Atlanta Masjid.
Okay.
But no. Um, it's just whatever Imam is speaking.
Okay. Cool. How, since 9/11, how did you get through 9/11? Being that at that particular historical time, everybody was kind of trying to fight Muslims, and you know, at least what was trying to be reported on the news. How did you handle that time?
But like I said, I was only a senior in high school, so I was still in
Right.
the cocoon of my own childhood. So it wasn't much disturbance for me. My friends was getting used to seeing me be Muslim, so we we was all getting used to the new me and the new world that happened with that. We was more concerned about what college was gonna be like, or how our job is gonna look now. Like, what do this mean for us? We about to go and step into the world, and the
Right.
world just changed drastically. So I
Right.
think being Muslim was like the last thing on my mind.
Right. With that shifting, and I'm not even talking about 9/11. I like how you said, yeah, you stepping into the world is changing. Um, how has the world changed since you graduated high school for you?
Wow. So when I graduated from high school, the teenagers and the young adults seem like respectful or whatever, like conscious of their elders. Like we might be a little wild, but we knew when to calm down.
Right.
Um, these teenagers now don't seem like they have no chill. So I would think that the world just got a lot more loose, a lot more just off the hinges. They just do whatever they feel now.
I put on my community tab because it seems to be I don't know if it's an old conversation, new conversation. I really don't know the dynamics of the conversation. And I'm gonna go back and listen to something that Crimson Cure was talking about because she's in my age generation. Let me ask you this question. There's this new thought, and so I want to get your perspective that um older generation, Generation X, baby boomers, that they owe the 20 something generation. They owe them an apology. They owe them an apology because they failed. And they use the word generation, not you apologizing to your children. They use it in the term of generation. I put it on my community tab. I kind of let people kind of, what I'm saying, give me their thoughts, views, and opinions on it.
Mhm.
What is your thought, views, and opinion? Being that you talked about this shifting and this idea of elders.
I don't like absolutes. How you doing, Yella? I don't like absolutes. So to say a whole generation, a whole nother generation is extreme. I do understand where they coming from.
Okay.
Um,
Give me your understanding of it and how
I
you
think
handle
that we feel. My friend was just telling me he said he felt like we was like the drop off kids. So like our parents were so busy going after whatever they were trying to attain that they was dropping us off everywhere so that they can get to what they were getting to. And so, y'all was busy providing, but not offering much parental guidance is what he said. That's not my personal experience, but that was what he said. And so I said, well, he's not the first person I heard that from. And I say all the time how blessed I am to have the mother I have. So I can't say that that's not everybody else's experience, that they was dropped off a lot and not having much of their parents around. But that seems to be what they complain about a lot.
Okay. You see how she put it, right? Make sure you subscribe to her. She awesome. She's awesome. What you hear the complaint. My question, and that's not my experience either. So I'm right there with you. My next question, in line with that, being that you have heard it, would it help them to grow? If they never get the apology, what do you think it will do? Do you think if they get the apology, it's going to help them to do what?
I don't know that everybody's going to get their apology. So sometimes you just have to be okay not getting that apology and still learning how to grow and get where you're trying to go. But for some, having your parent be accountable for something that you felt was a wrong done to you is an enormous thing. As a parent myself, I'm expecting for my kids to come to me later with complaints. My job is not to defend myself. Right. My job is to hear them out,
right,
and try to understand where they're coming from and correct it.
Now,
I think that a lot of the older generation, not really on that, wanting to hear what it is that they kids have to say. They just like, you don't even know what I had to go through to get you where you got. You don't know where I came from. And I think that that's another thing that is wrong too, is that perhaps it would help if your kids knew you some, don't just be a parent, because being a parent is not just providing. You're a role model. You can't be a full role model if they don't fully know you. They need to know where you came from, the struggles that you got through, the things that got you where you at to get them where they're going.
I heard that. I heard your side. This is not my pushback. I'm just giving you, the argument. The argument says we don't want to hear what you went through.
I don't know if it's that you don't want to hear. You don't.
Well, they say
most
that's
of them don't want to hear, but I don't think it's necessarily the hearing part. It's how you guys hear. You guys hear and take it personally and try to come back guns blazing when that's not really what a person is looking for. They're just looking to be heard and understood, and perhaps for some accountability to be took on the parents' part. Because just because you're a parent don't mean you always right. And even though we're doing the best that we can do at the time, you don't know how what you're doing will affect your kids.
Let me ask you this. Do you blame it on the generation, or do you blame it on the parent?
I don't blame anyone. Life is life. I mean, we have to just get through it the best we can. And I think that that's something from our generation that we is missing, is having a little grace.
Let me ask you this, so I can know what generation I'm talking to. How old are you, if you don't mind me?
I'm 38.
38. Okay. So when you say your generation, talk to me. Let me see. Miss Global Girl says, latchkey kids concept actually started in Generation X. So every generation wants to blame the one before them, but it seems irrational to expect an apology. How do you respond to that?
If you don't feel like you deserve an apology for your feelings, that's your business.
Okay.
But how I feel about my feelings are mine.
Right. So that because I tell anybody, me and my daughter had this conversation. I apologize for anything that I may have done. You know, it may have taken a while. And when I say a while, I'm talking about for her to get to that point of being able to come to me, and then for me to be able to, you know what I'm saying, accept it. But at the same time, you know, one of the questions, now this is long before all these conversations I had, you know, I asked her, I said, well, you know, let's talk about, you know, between this and this. And she's always made the point, whether I accepted what she had to say or not, she still had to live. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, yeah, I'm a talk to you and I tell you, but she still had to go on. And now all these conversations coming back up, and it's like, okay, if you're not willing to hear, I don't know what it is that you're looking for. Because if you blame a generation, and then when I ask you, well, what do you know about that generation? And you sit there looking lost, then I think you need to know about the generation, and it can give you some ideas and perspectives, you know, because for me, one of my arguments is, if I don't know what you did at 30, what you did at 30 may have been right at 30. But by the time you hit 40, it's like, well, dang, it was good at 30, but it ain't good at 40. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
That takes maturity, that takes wisdom, that takes life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I'm just throwing that out because I like to get different perspectives from different places before narrowing down an idea. So I want to just, you know, get your perspective as a parent and then you growing up. You know, I want to, boy, my chat lit up tonight. Okay, I'm going to say this one. Do as I say, not as I do. That confess to a child. Mind, train a child up in the way they should go. And when he is old, he shall not depart. I'm going to tell you something. And you tell me your experience. You know, because me and you may have two totally different experiences.
Okay.
I never grew up with that statement. I'm not going to lie. I never grew up with that statement of do as I say, not as I do. And I'm going to challenge where that's coming from. I've heard it. It doesn't mean I'm ignorant to it. But again, that's not my experience. So I really got to narrow down who's had this experience, or is this a 1950s, 60s statement, but not necessarily my generation statement. So how do you respond to that? Maybe you have a different experience.
My mother was a young mom, so she didn't really go with the do as I say, do whatever. Like, my mother was just a great role model.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean,
yeah. And I'm gonna use this in a later statement. Forgiving those that are never sorry is a sign of strength. I love that. I'm gonna have to write that down because I think that needs to be a word of the day. Forgiving those that are never sorry is a sign of strength. Yeah. Do you believe, or do you think, how do you feel about, I hear you. I'm not denying the statement at all. Don't ever think that I'm belittling that statement. I've heard it before. So it's not something I've never heard.
Right.
Let me ask you this question. There's also a narrative, and I want to know, Snuggles in the chat. You Crimson Cure's little sister. You gotta smile. This is also a beginning narrative that I'm starting to hear as well. And because you're 38, that brings 20 years between you and I. Thank you, Lucchese, for the $20 super sticker. Lucchese's my deep doctor researcher. When it comes to subject, she's that one now sit around and say, wait a minute, there's a book on that subject. And then I go and buy the book. So that's how I read all these books, you know. There's another part of the narrative and it says, if I can't get the apology, I really don't recognize elders. And I'm using that word elder because I heard you speak about elders and older people. What's your experience dealing with older people, people who's my age and then older? What's your experience?
I mean, everybody
For
loved me.
the $5 sticker, sorry about that.
No problem.
Okay, go
Everybody
ahead.
loved me. I don't really have no drama with many people. You my mom's age. So,
Right.
and I wasn't, like I said, I didn't hang out in my neighborhoods. And since my mom worked a lot, my mom was my friend. So when she was off and going to hang out, I was with her. I didn't get to actually be in the action, hang out with her. They might
Mm-hmm.
be outside of the car hanging out at the park. I was sitting in the car reading my book.
Right.
Um, so I mean, my aunt, I got my youngest aunt is 10 years younger than me. I just hung around older people anyway, so I never really had a problem. My grandmother
Mm-hmm.
grew up right next door to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so respect was there. I absolutely knew what it was and how to act. So
Mm-hmm.
I never really had a problem with older or younger.
Where do you think it's coming from? Because I hear it more online than I see it offline. I don't.
Where do I think what is coming from?
A lot of this anger, frustration, hate. Is it because we're in the midst of this dynamic? Is it, you know, do you see it offline as well as online? What's kind of your experience?
I think just because I didn't experience it myself doesn't mean that it's untrue. I think
Excellent.
that plenty people have felt like I saw somebody in the chat say a latchkey kid. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's fine that it started whenever it started,
Mm-hmm.
but that don't mean that it's not detrimental or didn't have any adverse effects just because it started when it started. And I think that one thing I can say is about the generations before me
Mm-hmm.
wasn't too much into feelings.
Mm-hmm.
It was just more of a get it done type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the younger generations are we are more privileged to feel. I
Mm.
don't think that people understand that it is a privilege to feel, but I feel like
Wow.
for African American people, it's absolutely a privilege. And I think that that is a way where I can say that my older generation failed us, is because I think we so ashamed of where we came from that we
Mm-hmm.
fail to reiterate that struggle to our kids. We need to know that so we can appreciate how far we've come. If we don't know how far we came, the books is not going to tell us how far we came. We got to go to college and pay money to learn our history.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it would do good to hear from your elders who actually lived in that time what it was like. We need to remember. That slogan, like never forget, they be talking about 9/11. That should be a slogan for Black people. We should never forget how we got here, how we was treated, what we had to go through to get where we going, and how much further we have to go, because we haven't been free that long. And so
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like emotions and feelings is a new concept. And I'm very happy to be in a generation that gets to feel.
I love and Brown Eyes said that as well. I love that, the privilege to feel. I gotta write that down. Talk about that. That I like what you had to say.
Mhm.
Expand on that privilege to feel, because you
Okay.
used the word privilege
Yeah.
where you said the generation before didn't have that privilege. So
Yeah.
explain that dynamic in your own words about that privilege to feel.
What I was born in 63. Okay, we back?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. It looked like your screen had just froze for the moment. Okay,
Yeah.
now I can see you moving, just moving a little slow.
Yeah. What I mean is, in 63, when my mother was born,
Mm.
we were still segregated. we were still segregated. It was still white and Black, this and that.
Mm-hmm. And
Um,
what city was that? Or state? You don't have to mention
we
city,
in
but
Michigan.
Michigan. Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And Michigan is highly segregated, you know.
Okay.
But yeah, so not being that far out, we were looked at prior to as property. In science books, it's still taught that Black women don't have pain. Um, it's just we are just not looked at as humans.
Mm-hmm.
And to know that that's how you looked at, the older generations knew because they were living in it, and they had to figure out a way to get through it. You can't feel in a time like that. You just have to do what you have to do to get through to raise your kids.
Mm-hmm.
And what my mother said is each generation should get better. So that next generation got better, and that next generation got better. And it's not like it's not some mishaps in between, because with us getting better, white people got jealous and they put all their little manipulations and twists and plots up in there to help tear us back apart, which set us back on having feelings and being looked at as people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's just difficult to feel when you're in survival mode. And I think that that is a lot of what our history is here. Is we have been surviving. We have not yet lived and throve. We just learning how to do that.
Beautiful. If you had to ask the deep dive questions, being that you said I'm your mother's age, what do you believe you need to know, or what is it? Now I ain't going all the way back to slavery. What do you think your generation, you need to know that would help you along the way? Because I'm hearing arguments, and again, I have to take a deeper dive, because if the one argument that I'm hearing, it blames the civil rights movement. I don't know if we're talking about civil rights or we're talking about people that's in Congress that's been in civil rights and dealing with that issue. But what would you say your generation needs from history that would help to move you or your generation along? What kind of conversation needs to be had?
I think the easiest conversation to be had would be to let your kids know you. Tell your kids what type of childhood you had.
Mm-hmm.
Tell your kids what type of dreams you had. Tell your kids the mistakes you made, how they came about, just how they have lived life. You don't need to know about anything else. If you could just tell me about you, that would help me understand you better.
Mm-hmm.
That'll help me look at you more as a human and not as my mom.
Mm-hmm.
When I first started to see my mom as human, I was angry.
Mm.
You know, you
Angry
grow up,
to
yeah,
see her as human.
yeah.
Okay.
You don't want to see your parents with flaws. As kids, even though your parents may tell you that they have them, you don't actually see them.
Mm-hmm.
But then as you grow up and you live in life and you're doing the things that you have to do to move about life, and then you think about your parents, it's like, man, I wonder how they got through this. Man, this is a difficult decision. I wonder how they handled that. Man, it just, once you happen to live life and make decisions,
Mm-hmm.
at least for me, it made me wonder about my mom.
Mm. Okay.
Knowing more about her definitely helps me forgive anything I felt was wrong.
Mm-hmm. Let's take it from generation. Say, let's look at myself. I'm gonna look at myself, and I am going to represent the generation X. And on this platform, I always say, "Help me, help you," meaning you help me to help you, so that you can be a better version of you. So, with that being said, help me, help you, help your generation.
Hmm.
What would you say? Hey, Uncle Stu, can you spend an hour talking about what?
I don't know anything that is something that I need to know about. Let me see, on a generational level, something that we should hear.
Mhm. And I'm saying that because I need people not only in the chat, not only that I'll probably see this interview later. Everybody knows that on my community tab, I'll write some deep questions and get some answers. But if I had to do a video,
Hmm.
if I had to do, because now I'm starting to once a week do these what I call once a week discussions where I'm just doing all of the
Hmm.
narrating,
Hmm.
and I had to narrate something, say next Friday. Um, Talk to me.
Like
If
I
you,
said, just to get to know you. When I was thinking of stuff that I wanted to learn from previous generations, being a nurse and working in nursing homes, I would find older people
Mhm,
and ask them, tell me the worst memory that you had.
mhm,
You know, being a black person in America, what is like the worst memory that you can remember? And I asked, what is their best memory that they can remember? And off of those two questions, you get a lot of conversation. Um, because like I said, I don't think it's any one thing that we need to know. We just need to know our history.
mhm,
Not knowing, just being born and seemingly being free and not having any struggle to have these freedoms and not knowing the struggles that our ancestors went to get these freedoms,
mhm.
you take them for granted. You know, having presidents like Trump come in and these people come back talking about trying to bring slavery back. I mean, you laughing, but it's not funny because
let
you
me
never
let me tell
know.
you why I laugh. Let me tell you why I laugh, because it does deserve an answer, and why I laugh. I'm from New York, so we know Trump personally. We know his politics. We know his attitude. We know his mannerism. And because I do study political science, I also know why he got elected. And it would shock most people why he got elected. Meaning, um, a lot of us is just now learning black manosphere, the black man, but don't realize that in the 90s there was a white manosphere. And that white manosphere connected with some of the white supremacists in order to formulate a block, in order to push the narrative that Donald Trump was pushing. So there's a deeper issue in our country that has to take place. But that's a whole nother conversation. That's a whole nother conversation. But the reason I chuckle is because there's so many different narratives dealing with Donald Trump that if I went block by block, just dealing in the politics, it would blow your mind which organization did what. It would blow your mind to know that the person that we called the first president of the first black president of the United States was also the first person to do prison pipeline. More black people went to prison under Clinton than under any Republican president in the last 30 years. Messes people up when you say that, but it's a fact. Um, so yeah, you're giving me a lot of stuff. Lucchese's right. Everybody's been wanting me to kind of talk the story of politics of the last 30 years, but I really like people to take a little bit of the deep dive. So you're giving me some stuff. So let's flip this around. You're the person that I interviewed today. Let's flip it so that people get an opportunity to know I'm that guy that's in the nursing home. What do you want to know? Help your generation so that I can help your
Mm,
generation.
I guess I would ask the same questions that I asked them. Is what is the worst memory you have growing up in America as a black man?
Believe it or not, my worst memory didn't show up until I moved to North Carolina. and I was already 30 years old.
Hmm.
And my worst memory is actually seeing segregation in North Carolina and being rejected by people that look like me. Because A, I didn't talk like them. B, I didn't grow up in poverty. And C, I didn't go to a HBCU. So according to them, I wasn't even black. What throws
Wow.
me off psychologically is because A, my parents is from Spartanburg, South Carolina. I know what the Confederate flag means. I know what neighborhoods I couldn't go to in South Carolina. But then to go to North Carolina and the people that would give you the shirt off that back, give you money, and I'm talking about I'm a product of this, and they got a Confederate flag on their shirt. They got a Confederate belt buckle. And when I didn't have food, those Confederate T-shirt people was at my house feeding the family. Made sure I had money in my pocket until I got my next job. That's a psychological messed up. And they actually believe that Confederate shirt and flag really meant Southern pride. To them, it meant Southern pride. It didn't mean what it meant, how I grew up for it to mean.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be my worst memory as far
Wow.
as like deep memory.
Wow.
I grew up in New York and I pretty much had great memory in the sense of New York, even when and during what they would call the crack era. So yeah, I was there during the crack era. I was there when black people was moving out of major cities. That's what
Like
created
the
the
New
crack.
Jack era.
Yeah, that New Jack era. Yeah. New Jack era, the whole beatbox spinning on the head. Yeah, that's me right there.
Okay. And then what is your best memory?
Right now. When I say right now, let me break it down. Right now, because I am retired, I get to sit back and talk to people, learn from them, be educated by them, teach them, and I'm in my most peaceful time and moment. Kids
Okay.
grown, so yeah, I'm no longer have to struggle to get to whatever I need to get to. Everything now is just gravy and cake, and I'm just enjoying being able to have the conversation. So for
Okay.
me, being an intellectual, I'm at total peace within myself. So I want to bring that peace to everyone that's around me.
Mm. Wow.
And sometimes, a lot of people is not ready for that because they're
Mm-hmm.
still in their own battle. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people are still in their own cliques. A lot of people think that, I'm 30 and I know more than a 54-year-old. I say keep living. So when I sit down and I'm able to hear an 80-year-old call me young, it brings a smile to my face. When I hear an 80-year-old say, you still got ways to go, people don't know I'm tap dancing. Because that means, hey, I got 30, 40 more years. Oh man, I can live a whole nother life again.
Yeah.
You understand? Um,
Mm-hmm.
there are people that didn't make it to my age.
Yeah.
There are people that didn't make it to 25. There are people that didn't make it to 30. People that didn't make it to 35. There's people that didn't make it to 40.
Mm-hmm.
You see? So, I know rappers that was maybe a year, 2 years older than me. They're not here. I'm still here. I get to sit on the podcast. And to me, if you want to know the hard questions, ask me. But if you just want to sit there and just start blaming my generation and even people before my generation, without asking the question. I guess for me, it may sound arrogant, but I sit there and go, you got access to something that we didn't have in the 80s. Google. You can almost Google any question you have, get an answer, and I can validate it for you. So I try to
You know
get it.
something actually right there? That's
And
another
I'm saying that go ahead.
your generation will know information and be on some. I had to get it how I had to get it, so you need to get it that way too, instead of just lending a hand. That's
Right,
trash.
right.
That's trash.
Tell me why.
Because that's stupid. If you
Mm-hmm.
know something and I need something,
Mm-hmm.
why not lend a hand and teach me?
Now let me
Instead
ask
of
you a
on
question.
some go find that on your own, because that builds resentment, because it what it seems like from
Mm-hmm.
your point of view, you probably like, oh, I'm trying to build tenacity. I want you to do the work. I want you to be invested. And it's like, it really just seems like you're a hater, right? And that's because you struggle, you want us to struggle. And that don't really fit
Mm-mm.
the model of I want you to be better than me.
Okay, now watch this. In order to go to Google, right? What's the first thing you got to be able to do? Ask a question. Just saying. Before you go to Google, you got to ask a question. So when I say, let's say, for example, you said, what was it like in 1965? Here's the double answer. If I ask that question in Google, it'll give me part of the answer. But the other part of that answer is ask somebody that lived in 1965. So when I say, I sit up here and I say, hey, if you got to go to Google, you already got the question. But there are some things that we're not even willing to even put forth an effort. So if I say, hey, here's my platform, I'm 54, ask me the questions, I expect to get the questions. Then you can get the answer. Me just personally saying, Assalamu alaikum. Let me tell you what I went through when I was in my, I don't think you're going to receive that too well. Because,
No, but your generation do a lot of, we'll ask a question and the answer be,
mm,
I had to get that on my own. Go figure it out.
mm,
Like, there's no help offered. There's no guidance. There's not even a, well, at least you got to do the research yourself. Read this book. It'd be just flat out, go do that yourself. I figured it out. You can figure it out too. Like, how are we supposed to
mm-hmm,
get ahead like that?
mm-hmm.
That's dumb. That's counterproductive. And that's what make us go to the white people, because they so free flowing with their information, baby. They
Mm-hmm.
got so much information and they ain't about to make you struggle to get it. And I do the
Mm-hmm.
same. I try my best to, if I don't even got to be in your conversation. If I hear you talking about something, I got something that can help, I'll be like, hey, sis, I heard you talking about school. Let me help you out. Oh, you want to start a business? I can tell you how to do that for the cheap. Don't go pay nobody. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you trying to start a business? I have vendor lists in my phone. Let me send you some vendor lists.
Mm-hmm.
That's the type of thing we need, because just because I gave you that one little piece, it's still a plethora of information that you need to go through with it. But that little information I give will give you a boost to go and do the work,
Mm-hmm.
instead of going to somebody who you know for sure has the answer and want to shut you down and tell, oh, well, you need to go find it yourself. It's like, oh, you don't really want to see me win.
Do you love how I interview? I'm gonna show you something. You love how I interview?
I don't
Ready
know.
with me to show?
Yes.
I'm gonna show you. I'm teaching. I'm teaching the. I'm gonna call him your boss for right now. I'm gonna teach him wisdom. You ready? Do you know I purposely did that because I needed you to express that? Why did I tell you that? Because that's the dumbest statement they ever made. And that's what I need you and your generation to explain with clarity. See
Mm-hmm.
where communication comes in at? And I'm not saying you don't do it. but I'm trying to now show you the beauty of wisdom of communication. I'm quite sure that if you or not, and I don't want to make you the figurehead. I don't like
Mhm.
really doing that because
Mhm.
you've already said, hey, I don't have these issues. But that's what got to be cycled. That's what got to be communicated because a lot of people don't know how to communicate. A lot of people don't know how to talk, and a lot of older people is not going to tell you things unless you ask. You're just not going to give up information. So, and why? Don't ask me why. I'm wide open. I'm like older people in the 80s. When I say in the 80s, I'm talking about 80 years old. You ask me a question, I'll be glad to answer it. Now, the only problem with some of my answers is I can only answer from my own life experience and things I know. One of the things that I struggle with is New York City is a totally different beast than it was in Los Angeles, than it was in Chicago, than it is in Houston, Texas, than it is in Oklahoma. Trust me, I've been to all these different places, and it's like, oh my God, they just totally different.
Mhm.
So the only answers I can give is overarching answers. So that's why I say, hey, what's the question that you have? It's the only way you can communicate. And so if I had to speak to somebody in my generation, I need to be able to explain that to them. But if you're yelling or if you're, I don't want to say over emotional, if you don't know how to articulate the inner self, then no one can communicate with you. So you see, I purposely said, well, go Google it. What did you immediately come after? See, that's the problem with you, right? But why did I do that? Because I needed you to communicate and be able to say, you know, hey, Uncle Stu, we don't want to Google because Google may not give us the right answers. Google may not tell us what we really need to know because y'all may not have written it down in a book.
Mhm.
Google is a computer and we want to touch the human experience.
Mhm.
So to touch the human experience, we don't want to read a book. We want to talk to you.
Yeah.
We're messed up, Uncle Stu. We need help because I
Yeah.
can't help nobody that doesn't ask for help. I can't just up and just do something and I don't know that you need me to do it. I told you earlier. I said Lucchese's my researcher. Why do I say that? What does that mean? If she's listening to this podcast, she's watching it, and she sees that I'm struggling on a topic or I'm struggling on a subject, as opposed to her trying to give me a 300-page email, she may know a book or a person or a video blog, and she could sit there and say, hey, and go on my email and say, listen, this was the topic you had. Here's a book, here's a video, here's this to do what? Give me more understanding.
Yeah.
And so, in that dual conversation, this is what needs to be communicated. You already stated, hey, we have privilege of emotions. We have privilege of feelings. That means when we talk to the older generation, we got to understand they don't have what we have.
Mhm.
So just as much as they don't know what we don't know what they know. So we have to be able to communicate and not yell, scream, holler. Maybe we just need to ask the right one, the right questions, and stop always thinking that that one person that may not give you the answer, that they just don't know it. You don't know what they may know, and maybe we're not asking the right questions. I happen to be an
Sometimes if you
educator.
don't know though, you don't know what question to ask.
Mm, awesome.
How can I ask about something that I don't know?
Hmm.
Maybe I can explain a situation and say I'm lacking here somewhere, but I don't know where. But not everybody thinks like that or articulates that way.
Why do you think? Okay, you know what? What she say? Blame game. Let me see. Blame game or aggression never works. Absolutely, absolutely. Let me show you what's real funny. I'm gonna make you laugh. You ready? Everybody that don't know knows you kept saying, "I'm gonna be on your podcast." Why say me versus others? What did you see being on this podcast versus being on others outside of the podcast I know that you're on? What
You
made you
older.
see this podcast as different than, let's say, anybody else you would go to?
You older. Um, you seem more knowledgeable.
Mhm.
Um, it seemed like it would be a complex to be. Somewhere to go and learn something new.
Awesome.
Get in front of a new audience.
Mhm.
See if I could hold a conversation and that we could hold a conversation instead of just all the little regular conversations I have with the
Right.
younger people who I'm on the podcast with.
And is that being fulfilling? Do you feel like you're getting that conversation?
Yeah, I like
Excellent.
this conversation. It's different than any other platform I've ever been on.
Excellent. Excellent. And that's what needs to happen. You
Hmm.
know, it's cute to have 4 or 5 people up here, but sometimes having 4 or 5 people is totally confusing. You know, being able to, my job is to make sure that when you leave this platform, and you're more than welcome to always come back. You know, CK, he know I got jokes. I'll show up on his platform like, I'm taking that one. Sorry, bro. But
Yeah.
um I want you to feel good. I want you to be able to walk away learning something, knowing something. And even if, say, tomorrow you wake up and say, you know what, I should have asked this question. Or, you know what, I thought about something he said. Or, you know what, he did this. Email me. Even if
I
you
do have
say,
another question.
sure.
You said you used to be Muslim.
Hmm.
What happened?
I came out at the age of 29. I don't really like to say the full word came out, but allow me the looseness. I came out when I was 29 years old and went into Christianity. It became more of a spiritual conversion. But the irony of the spiritual conversion is my pastor, and he's a bishop now, but when I converted over, a lot of things that I learned in Islam, he told me never forget. And to once I became a Christian. And so when I became a Christian, I was always still the study of the discipline, etc. Um, and I would say it's been a beautiful ride. Right now, because I have 2 different dynamics and 2 different theologies, it's allowed me to have a greater and wider perspective in how to communicate spiritual awareness and spiritual understanding. So it doesn't allow me to be blocked in. I can have the open dialogue and the open conversation. So I still have the discipline of a Muslim and the spirituality of a Christian, if that makes sense.
So you felt like you was missing spirituality with Islam?
In theory. But see, you also got to remember I was younger. Um, I was with a different crowd of Muslims, And although I have made my Hajj, I've done all five pillars and whatnot, I still have a deep love and respect for Muslims. So it's not like, I sit here and just reject Islam as not being, a major religion. So I don't do that. I know what is done, especially for African American people in this country. Um, I will always say if a person becomes a Muslim and it makes them a better human being, then by all means go for it. I'm not going to sit up there and fight all of that stuff. Um, if being a Christian makes you a better human being, go for it. If you're not trying to claim a religion because, you know, confusion or you're just trying to find your own way, I don't fight people for that. I like people to. So there are some journeys you have to take alone. There are some journeys that you have to, you know, walk alone. My job, where I'm at now, my job is just to be here if you do scrape your knee in life. Because there are some answers I can't give you. There are some where I can't impose my knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of 54 years into the brain of a 25-year-old. It just ain't gonna work. Why? There are some things at 20. When I was 20, I'm gonna talk about me. When I was 20, I didn't want to hear from no 50-year-old. I respect you. But when it came to life, it was some things, it was like, nah, I don't want to hear from you, Pops. I love you. You understand? And there's a word that says the older I get, the dumber I feel, and the more wiser my father gets.
Mm.
And I'm in that same position. So for me right now, you don't really see me floating the YouTube streets as you used to. Because there's certain conversations I ain't getting in those conversations because I can already tell they're not going anywhere. But I can't tell them that.
Yeah.
Can't tell them that. So I am constantly opening the platform where I'm trying to give people what do you want to know? What do you want to learn? I can't just impose and say, let me teach you how to do this. And you really want to know how to do this.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain conversations that I can say, that's a dumb conversation, young man. Let me give you the proper But guess what? There are some people that say, we don't want to hear that. We want to do this. And this is how it's going to be. And I'm smarter than you. So, like, okay, no problem.
Yeah.
You know, there are certain things that people actually believe they're in a new anomaly. Like when I hear people say, I'm Pan African. It's like, oh, okay. And they don't even realize who they're talking to. And they'll tell me about 20 different books they done read. I say, oh, well, before you was born, I was hanging out with Winnie Mandela. So what are we talking about? So while you're reading the book, I'm actually living the life. So what is my life? My life is the book. But unless you're willing to open me up, you'll never be able to read me.
Yeah.
So the only way I can educate is you got to come and read the book. That's why it's called Emancipated Studio.
Mm.
Emancipate your mind, and the rest will follow. That tree is called the Emancipation Tree. It is
Mm.
the tree that was located and is the foundation of Hampton University. It is the tree and where freed slaves went to be educated and to know how to live life. So before that, there was this, you know, Tulsa, Oklahoma. There's a small little town in Hampton, Virginia, that black people built a town, built a city, A lot of people don't know that history.
Yeah.
I've had people say, well, we need to get rid of Jesse Jackson. We need to get rid of Al Sharpton. I get the today history of it. But if you don't know what either one of these two men did, I don't think you'd be ready to get rid of them that quickly. At least understand their history. Now, you don't have to like their politics because Lord knows I ain't going down their political road.
So you saying that because they were so effective when you were younger, that they should be able to still be in play now and do
No,
nothing?
no, 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 no. We have to know sometimes. Now, I'm going to say this. The reason I play my position is because there are some things I'm not going to get in the way with when it comes to young people because it's your time. And I gotta admit, now sometimes some of us, we need to just get out the way and let y'all do what you do and be the wisdom as you do what you do because generations move from people that's in their 20s to their 30s. Um, One of the things that I'm going to agree with is a lot of people that's in the civil rights era, that's in Congress, they do need to get out and allow a new generation of people in. I totally agree. I agree with term limits on Congress and the Senate.
Man, yes.
So you have to understand there's a lot of us that might believe what you believe, but we're going to teach you how to do it. We need you to get out there and we need you to not only be voters, but become the political leaders. See, it's easy to talk it. Well, you willing to sacrifice for it.
Mm.
So this is that platform. And it's going to get better in time because it's like, okay, is this what they're looking for? No problem. Let's have the open discussion. But you got to be able to tell everybody, don't go to Uncle Stu acting like a fool now, because he'll hit that button and kick you out, and you still ain't gonna get your answers met, because you're gonna still come up here and respect me just as much as you want me to respect you. So yeah, I'm working on something now to teach people how to communicate. You're not talking to a man that doesn't have feelings. I do. I feel anger, I feel hurt, feel remorse, I feel pain. I can cry at the drop of a dime, and I can sit right here and turn around and pray for anybody in my chat. But you also got to come with a sincere heart, and you got to come with no preconceived notions. And you got to be able to ask the question and be able to receive the answer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the problems that my generation, if I just had to speak for my generation, is happening. It's not that they're not willing to talk, because you ain't going to find a whole lot of 50-year-olds online. But the ones that you do, they're here to talk. What they're not going to take is disrespect. And what do we mean by disrespect? There's a difference between I say something, you say something, and I say, okay, and then I give it to you a different kind of way. Just like we did tonight. You didn't feel disrespected. You didn't feel belittled.
Mm-hmm.
But let me tell you some of the conversations. If I try to explain something to you and you already going to fight me, you're going to yell, you're going to scream, you're going to go into belittling attacks, there's no more conversation. Now, I'm not saying it happened here, but I've seen it too many other places. Then you're not gonna have the conversation. You're gonna still be in the same place. One of the beautiful things that you have said tonight, I mean, you said a lot, but let me just reiterate. Apologies must come from the parent, not the generation.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get people to understand the language. You can't look for a generation to do something, but you can look for the parent. That's fine. I don't think you'll get an argument if you say, hey, I want to talk to my, fine. That's cool. But I also need you to be prepared that if you don't get it, doesn't mean your parent don't love you. Sometimes they can only tell you what they know and what they understand. I'm in a unique position. I have men like Mr. Vaughn, Lucchese, Mosaic with TJ Randolph, Soulful Joy, who's a latter baby boomer. My partner, ex DMC. Me and him is 2 years apart and grew up in the same city. So we got the generation. We just need to know, what do you want to know? And each one of us can give it to you from our own life experience. And you got to accept it as is. You can't be trying to finesse it. Can't be trying to belittle it. Can't be trying to blame game it. You got to take it. And sometimes some of we might come from 5 different perspectives. Why? Because we all grew up in 5 different locations.
Mm-hmm.
But we can't be your parents. We can't do that. Meaning, what we mean by that is, I can't explain to you why your dad may have left. I wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
I can't explain why your mom may have did it. I wasn't there.
And Mom, when I
This my son Lamont.
What's up, Lamont? Lamont, you about to get my chat shut down. How old are you, young man?
It's not bedtime. 8.
You 8? Oh, see, I like that baritone based voice you just did. You know, you was talking to mom. You was like, hey, mommy. Then I get to me. It was like, yo, I'm 8 years old. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it bedtime yet?
No, y'all got 45 minutes. Go pick up your school clothes. I'll be up there in a second.
Mom,
yes.
Can we search online for books that I like to read tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Out. Shut my door.
Oh. So we ain't gonna keep you long, mom, because you know when the boys start coming in, it mean, mom, we don't want you talking to that man no more. We need your time.
You know, normally I don't get on podcasts till about 8:30, so they have me until about 8 o'clock.
Oh, you should have told me. I would have humbly switched the hours.
No, it's okay. I did not mind that it was a earlier chat because I'm.
Well, I'm right there with Lucchese. I was more impressed by the fact that he loves to read. So I'm right there with her. And, you know, this is what I'm talking about. I have witness panels with a couple of individuals that try to overtalk others. There is zero understanding in that environment. So do you understand that? That's the environment. I think last time when CQ was on, you know, he was looking at one position. I showed him another position. But at the same time, if you're in your 20s, how in the world I'm going to get you to say, I need you to look at it in the mind of a 50-year-old. And you're 29. Don't kind of work that way.
Yeah.
What I like to do, so that you understand me, is drop seeds of knowledge and wisdom. And as you go, those seeds will grow. There are certain areas where I might push back, but it's not to push back to make you feel bad. It's to push back to make you think deeper.
Mm-hmm.
So when you meet someone and they're saying, you could say, hey, I had a conversation with a 54-year-old. And you know what? I had to learn to talk this way versus this way. And I was able to get a wealth of information when I said it this way. I had to first learn to go to that person without preconceived thoughts, preconceived notions, and ready to respond. I always say one of the problems that I see is everybody listens to respond and not
Yeah.
to hear.
Yeah, for sure.
They're quick to, and take the deep dive questions. Here's the other problem. So I'm going to teach you something else. Learn to ask why a person say what they say before responding to what they say. That's a lesson of communication. So let me explain and let me show you the deep dive of that question. You said earlier, my generation has the privilege to feel.
Mm-hmm.
I asked you, take the deep dive and explain the privilege part. And you explained it. Older person may say, your generation is rebellious. Before responding to the rebellious, have that person explain why they use the word rebellion. Make sure you understand why they're using that word. Where is it coming from? What is their experience? And then try to get into their head and say, oh, this is what they're defining as rebellion. This is why they see it as rebellion. This is why they see it as disrespect. And then it gives you tools to be able to navigate the conversation. So if an older person says, they say generation, the baby boomers were stronger than the Generation X. The Generation X is stronger than the millennials. And by the time it gets to, was it Gen Zs, they're weak. Well, instead of saying, weak, I ain't weak, and ready to break everything up, understand why they saying that. Where is it coming from? What are they saying? Why are they saying it? Because let's be honest. Could any of us in the state we in be in slavery right now?
I doubt it.
Exactly. Do you understand? So when we talk about strength, we got to recognize now that's strength,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Could any of us mentally survive segregation as it really was, not as we romanticize it to be, as it really was?
Mm-hmm.
We already up here talking about, yo, man, the police stopped me. Da, 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 da. No, could we really have been in segregation?
Yeah.
And then turn around. Could you really have survived all of the issues that happened in the 80s into the 90s? So that gives you the understanding, like, let's take the deep dive and let's recognize they're not using the word weak, meaning stupid. They're using the word weak, meaning could we have mentally handled what they went through? Does that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The book, Difficult Conversations, How to Discuss What Matters Most, has key questions to ask when tough conversations. Why would a reasonable person say do this before jumping into conclusions? Which means that's on my book list. So I'll be going once we get off, we're going straight to Amazon. And then I remember I said I need you to help me help you.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you help me to help you? Conversation. So now you could go to your generation, whether online or offline, and say, if you're struggling, sorry, I gotta order it. um, but now you can go and say, you know what? If we fall into a tough conversation, let's go to Uncle Stu and have him open up a platform so we can have a conversation. So he can maybe explain some difficult areas that we're having or help us navigate through some things that needs to be discussed. Or maybe he won't give us the answers, but he'll give us a few questions to take the deep dive. Because sometimes I don't want you to have the straight answer. I need you to take the deep dive. Because sometimes I do want you to think through things. I don't want everything to be, oh, you want this answer? Here's the answer. You want it? Here's the answer. No, I want you to take the deep dive. I want you to be able to know why. Because it's going to help you as a parent. It's going to help you as a nurse. It's going to help you as a supervisor. It's going to help you as a wife. It's going to help you as a citizen.
Yeah.
And then to know I can go to Uncle Stu and argue my points or have this question or get this confusion. He was never going to belittle me. He's not trying to belittle me. He's not trying to harm me. He's not trying to hurt me. He generally cares and he loves me. He's not about the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
He's about the person.
Yeah.
So talk to me. What have you learned today? What have you learned tonight?
I think my favorite thing was when you said like when the older generation call you rebellious, to actually had them define what they saying when they even say that. Because to hear somebody say that, you immediately want to respond back to that. But when you're responding, you might not even be responding to what they're saying because you don't even fully understand it.
Right. Right.
I liked it that.
Yeah. Right. And that's where it goes of that. You got to help me help you.
Mm-hmm.
Narrative. And like I said, it doesn't mean that this got to be a one-time conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It might take you a month. You be like, I got a whole list of questions, or I've been talking about this. Let's have it, and we can look. It don't take much to open up a StreamYard and have the conversation because tonight we'll just argue. Okay, we got 8 people in the chat. Might have 100 people after the chat that's just listening.
Mm-hmm.
But that's 100 people that may have gotten something they didn't have before, a deep understanding they didn't have before. Maybe we've helped 20% of those 100 people that says, you know what, I used to think this way or talk this way. I know now there are things that can be different. Trust me, I've tried to have this same conversation with others.
Mm-hmm.
But every time I tried to explain something, it was always the attack version of it. Sometimes you gotta learn to listen. That person didn't make it to 80 years old being a dummy.
Yeah.
I don't care what you think about that person. I talked to a man, oh Lord, make sure I got it right. I think he's 79 years old.
Mm-hmm.
You think I'm going to tell a 79-year-old he's stupid? A 79-year-old, he dumb. A 79-year-old to tell me, I'm going to cuss him out. When I know that man raised up 3 daughters, a wife, and he was able to get his daughter through college. I may have more degrees than he do, but do you think I'm going to call him stupid?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe I don't talk like he talk. Maybe I don't do the things he do. Maybe I might say, well, he do this and he too old for, you know what? I ain't got nothing to do with that. Let me get what I need to get, grab what I need to grab, and respect who I need to respect. So I
Yeah.
think it's even naive for people to say, well, I pick and choose who my elders are. I pick and choose. That's a powerful statement.
You know
Good.
something? I have another question.
Sure.
So people say
Mhm.
that you have to earn respect. I say that respect is given and you have to earn my trust. What do you say?
I can see that. I can see your perspective. I really can. Give respect, earn my trust. I can see that. I'll add, keep what you say, keep exactly what you say, put this icing on it. Lower your expectations and you'll never be hurt. And what do I mean by lower your expectations? You'll never be hurt. It doesn't mean you don't have my full trust. And it doesn't mean you don't have my full respect. But when I say lower your expectations, because many of us get hurt because we put unrealistic expectations on people that they don't even know they have.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say, for example, I put this expectation on you. Muslims don't tell jokes. Muslims don't do this. Now, I don't put this high expectation on you, right? And then the moment you tell a joke, I'm hurt. I'm offended. I'm bruised. Now I hate you. And you sitting there going, what did I do for you to hate me? But I hate you because I put an expectation on you that you never even knew you had.
Mm-hmm.
So if you expect, we'll take it back to that generation. If you 30, you go run up on some 50-year-old talking about, I expect you to give me a policy for everything you'll just, they're going to look at you like you stupid. Because you giving them an expectation that ain't no way in the world they knew nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And when I try to give people the language, you're saying generation, but that person may have been a good mother and father and never, what are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Well, so we're putting expectations on people that either A, they didn't know they had, or B, it was so unrealistic, they can't fulfill it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be the other caveat. So I agree. Go in with much respect on people. And the trust is who you bring to your inner circle, and then layer it with lower your expectations so you don't get hurt. And that has nothing to do with trust.
Yeah.
It has everything to do with lowering your expectations, all because if they don't meet your expectation, it doesn't mean they're not trustworthy,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't mean that they don't deserve your respect.
Mm-hmm. I try not to have any expectations of people because
Good.
I hate when people look at me and expect, like you just said, since I'm Muslim, they look at me, I got my hijab on. They expecting a certain something from me. I've yet to figure out what it is. I really don't care because I'm just gonna be me. But you know, I don't like the way that feels. So I never want to put that on anybody. I always meet. I'm open when I meet you. I haven't expected anything of you. Um, I don't even expect people to be respectful to me. I just go in knowing who I'm gonna be, and I'm gonna respond to whatever I get back. Like, this is me. Who are you? Okay, then we can move on along with this. How it's gonna go, you know.
And that's exactly what's happening on these panels. That's why I no longer go up on certain panels and have certain conversations because I put on in the thing. There's a difference between an agenda and a narrative. And a lot of people have agendas. They don't have intellectual narratives. Meaning, I have this agenda, and if you don't follow my 5-point agenda, you're not even a human being. If you don't follow my 6-point agenda, you're not a woman. If you don't follow my 7-point agenda, you're not a man. If you don't follow my every checkered point being ADOS or FBA or this group or that group, you no longer human. And I'm going to set up my platform and belittle you as a human being. But you've never once took the time to have a conversation with that person.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know who that person is. You have no clue where they've been. All you know is you read some freaking book and don't even realize who you may be talking to.
Mm-hmm.
People don't know. Love O'Shea. Cool brother, well-educated brother. Got nothing negative to say. But half these people wouldn't even know that I done been to many countries in Africa. Long before I was in the military. You wouldn't know it unless you asked me. But my life, people would think I ain't Pan-African. I am. I know all about it.
What is that?
Pan-African just simply, in the most simplest way, the simplest answer. It is people who believe in doing business and having a bilateral economic development plan. So in one generation, it meant getting up out of America and leaving and going back to the motherland. As it has developed and migrated, then it became, in the 70s, it became economics. It's always been some form of economics, but stronger in the 70s of economics. Now, in the early 70s, going into the 80s, it was about South Africa. Why? Because it was the heart of apartheid, but it was Winnie Mandela that was running the organization. So she was being supported by many of us here. Then when Nelson Mandela became free and he dismissed Winnie Mandela as his wife, a lot of us stopped supporting a lot of things in South Africa.
Wow.
Yeah. But you get these modern day Pan-Africans today, they ready to attack other African Americans. They ready to, and it's like, what are y'all doing? Why are y'all doing that? Why are y'all setting up run your business? See, I always believe in results. What's going on, Tack? I believe in results. I don't believe in talking all the time. And it sounds crazy. Results to me is, if you believe in what you believe in, then show me the results of the work. Don't tell me what's in the book. Don't tell me what some doctor done said behind the four walls of a college or university. Show me the results. Your results. Just like this platform. This platform produces results, one person at a time. Okay. But I got results. You're a result. Tack Williams is a result. Luke Casey is a result. I got results.
Tack is that guy.
Huh?
I said Tack is that guy.
But what is the results? Communication, respect, education. Mm-hmm. I have 1099 employees. So you can sit up and talk all you want, but how many people have you employed? Mm-hmm. How many Black people do you employ and give them an opportunity to feed their family? Or you're just a platform talking to be talking? The reason I say I respect O'Shea Drew Jackson, why? Because he's actually putting in work. He got results. A lot of Pan Africans, all they do is read a book and go after everybody, have all these debates. But at the end of the day, what are the results of your debates? Are you have you built businesses? Have you went in and restructured a community? Or you're just here for likes, clicks, and views? I'm about results. Can I go to your home and you can show me that you've invested in 2, 3 homes and people can actually live there? Or are you just going to complain what the white man ain't doing? Have you been to Africa and actually developed any sort of infrastructure that if you wanted to get black people from America to Nigeria or to Morocco or to have you developed a real infrastructure network, or you're just a name and a book and a title? I can write a book all day long and be recognized as Dr. Omaula and debate everybody and sound like the great intellectual. And you be patting me on my back. Oh, Omaula, you the man. You debated that person. You debated that. Yeah, you took them down with that. And yeah, I'm a subscribe. But at the end of the day, I ain't built no infrastructure. I ain't put a roof over your head. I ain't put food in your mouth. I have no inner structure when I go into another country where I can move you into that country. So we just talking wearing dashikis. I'm above that dashiki wearing days. What we build now? We building cities? We just building philosophy. If I took a camera and came into your city, am I looking at a real person? I'm just looking at a talker. You're a real nurse. That means somebody can go to your real job and see you doing real work in a real city. You're a real mom. We see that. That's what it's all about. And the more that you become authentically you, you can see who's not authentic. So I'm not always impressed by organizations and who connected to what. And I can write a nice thesis and hook up this whole platform and be the super most Pan-African person in America. But if I can't take you to another country and show you how to live in that country away from America, I'm just a talker. And when I look at you and I say, I'm proud of you, happy for you. Your son's coming on camera. It show everybody, hey, she's a real mother. Her young men love books. That means she's doing the work to be an educator, to be the woman who understands. Now, that's not a woman in talking points.
Mm-hmm.
We see and hear the results of your work. So you are a leader. So when we say we need your voice, we need you to be able to say, no, that's not a mother. Why? Because I got experience of a mother. No, your kids acting like that and you got boy. No, 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 no. This is what it means to be a mother. Why? Here's the example. Well, you ain't no good mother. Well, here's the results.
Mm-hmm.
So my platform is about the mission, but it's about the results. And if I can teach any young person anything, stop following unresulted people. That's my years of knowledge and wisdom. I've been around the greatest of talkers. I've been around the greatest of intellectuals. But what's the result? How many people have you fed? How many businesses have you developed? How many homes have you created? How many places have you actually built? What have you done? I don't want to hear about the accolades of, oh, this is going to sound so racist. I don't want to hear about the accolades white people done patted you on the head for. I don't want to hear that. I need to be able to say, Tad Williams, I need you up here because my people needs results. I know he's a result person. So when he talks, he can speak with the authority because he has results.
Yeah.
Lucchese, she can talk because she has results. You got a lot of people talking. And if I say, well, show me the results of your work, they'll quickly tell me about some freaking book, some doctor, some statistic, some. I don't need to hear all that. I want to see results. If I come to your city, can I see the results of your work? People know me personally, meaning they've come to my home, they see the results of my home.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been talking, and you're supposed to be the one that get the interview. What else you got for me?
I was getting interviewed. I didn't know I was supposed to come on here with questions.
No, you came with a last one. You was like, wait a minute, I got a question. So I'm opening myself up and giving you the opportunity to ask me anything. And if anybody in the chat, if you got a question for my guests, put a Q in the chat and ask the question.
What type of business do you have?
Well, this one right here is a media production business. So basically, this podcast is under a media production. So this
I
is
see your trademark on there.
Huh?
Yeah, I see your trademark on there.
Yeah. So I have a media production business and getting ready to go into real estate investment business this year. So that way, I not only have media production on one side, but I'm also going to have rental property on the other side.
Okay.
And then from there, it's going to end up being travel. Because after that, I'm traveling.
So what you doing? You saying you giving your wife some more time to work because she's not ready to retire? So,
less time. I'm trying to make it less.
Be ready.
Yeah, I'm trying to make it less. She already got weekends off, so we good for the weekends. You know, one of her nephews already called and said she only allowed to work 3 weeks. Let me see, what did he say? She got to take off a whole week every month to get ready to be done.
Nothing wrong with that.
You know, so, and she's spoiled because she got people in Florida waiting to see her, Georgia waiting to see her, Maryland waiting to see her. Everybody waiting to see her, but I'm the one who got to do all the work and sit in front of the camera. See?
You doing the work sitting in front of the camera. That was funny.
Mm-hmm.
That ain't no work.
You know. But you know, like I said, it's being able to have these conversations. And what is the result? Trying to change one mind at a time. And then get y'all to echo. Hey, go check out Uncle Stu. Mm-hmm. And I have a Patreon. And I'm trying to build that Patreon, not just to pad my pockets. I'm trying to build that Patreon so that people can have some mental health treatment, be able to speak to professional social workers, professional psychiatrists. I got to pay these people to do that. So, you know, it won't necessarily be one-on-one, but you get the group aspect of it and get some therapy, because a lot of people need some therapy. Need some therapy.
I think all Black people in America need therapy.
Yeah.
I think we all got PTSD. I think that trauma is passed down from generation to generation, and we need to figure out a way to get out of our own way.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So hopefully when my businesses get going and popping, I can be like, these are my results.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So did you enjoy yourself?
I did.
Excellent. Excellent. Don't worry, there'll be a part 2.
Okay. No problem.
Tell CK. Uncle Sue already got me. I'm just letting you know. You know, I might have to, hang out with him for a weekend now.
Oh my goodness.
Be like, look, he gonna have Juma prayer on Friday, so I can't be here. I gotta go hang out with him. He might get back to that Quran stuff, start talking about certain, I gotta get there. He still know Arabic. He still know how to read it. He still know how to speak it. He's good. He ain't forgot. I may have forgot a whole lot that's in it, but I still remember a lot that's there.
Okay.
Well,
that's good.
So I'm good. I know what Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, just to let you know, I know a little something.
Yeah, I would. What is you talking about?
Tack, I got this, Tack. See, Tack, look, Tack, stop playing hating, Tack. Stop playing hating. See, that's that New York gangster. See, I'm a New Yorker, he a New Yorker. See, that's that New York gangster stuff. You know what I'm saying? You got to watch us New Yorkers, boy. We get jealous and gangster in the heartbeat.
When I was younger, I wanted to marry a man from New York. I don't even know why. I have no idea. I've never been there. I don't know nobody from there. So
but,
yeah.
Hey, you want to hear what's funny?
What's that?
Wife got a New Yorker. Her baby sister got a New Yorker. I said, you can't mess with us. We good. We took these country women right up. We took these country women right up out of here. She know.
Oh, that's so sweet.
That's my boy. I love him. But what I'll do is now give you that opportunity to be with your boys. Everybody don't know. They was easy to come on camera because they was hanging out with me in the backstage first. They
were.
But I'm glad that you enjoyed yourself. I'm glad that you was able to, walk away and be a better version of yourself. Came and when you left, and keep on growing, keep on developing.
Absolutely.
So, to my chat, I want to thank y'all for hanging out with me, rocking with me. Don't forget the Patreon. Don't forget being a joiner. And don't forget just to hit me up in the email. Hit me up, IG. Talk to me, and definitely hang out with me in that community tab. All right. Let me get to my little thing yet. I'm gonna have to get me a little end thingy. My little end thingy be all
outro.
Yeah, that's what I need. A good one. I got one, so I'm about to show off my outro.
Okay.
All right. I gotta upgrade. To everybody in my chat, I love y'all. See now Tat made sure we ain't shutting down on time. He done gave you another hour of time. Salute. Thank you, sir. Appreciate the $20 cash app. Appreciate you. This is Uncle Stu, the old man on the block. Just stay on the screen. Share. We'll talk to you in the back. And definitely subscribe. Okay. Emancipate your mind. Peace.